And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 27, and have had a lot of fun episodes with some of the great student athletes in Division III basketball over the course of the last several weeks. And I've got another one here today, and we're going to go to Roanoke College, which is in beautiful Salem, Virginia. And I miss Salem, Virginia. Been there many a time back in the day. Really excited to have Josh McClary with me. And we had a little debate. This was one of those where I had to say, like, is it Joshua or is it Josh? Like, you're too good a hooper for me to screw up your name. But you told me to go with Josh. Is that correct?
Yeah, that works. That works perfectly.
It's great to meet you. And one of the things I like the most about doing this silly little podcast is meeting people like you that I normally would have no chance to interact with, Josh. And you're doing some pretty special things. For those that don't know Josh, he's a 6'2" senior guard for the Roanoke College Maroons. I talked about Salem, Virginia. Everyone knows that that's where the men's basketball Final Four used to be. I don't know how many times I was in Salem, but it was a large number. And anyone that goes to Roanoke and Salem ends up at some point taking a little stroll around Roanoke College. And Josh, that is a kind of your quintessential little college campus, isn't it? Like Roanoke College there in Salem is a beautiful place,
Yes, it is.
especially like spring, fall. Like it's just it feels like what a college is supposed to feel like, right?
Right. Yeah, it does. I mean, that's just the beauty of just going to a small school like that and a city like that. I mean, it just works out perfectly. So,
Is Mac and Bob still there?
oh yeah,
Okay.
McIntosh still there.
I've spent a lot of time, Josh, at Mac and Bob, so I'm just making sure that it's there and doing well. Well, it's great to have you on here. You guys are 7-2, 2-1 in the ODAC right now. Let's just start there for a second. As you take a look at the whole season to date through 9 games, how are you feeling about the 7-2 start so far?
I'm feeling really good about our start. I mean, I don't think we could have started any better than we did. We lost our first game and then we kind of figured it out after that. Lost to a great team in Hampton Sydney.
Yeah,
So other than that, I mean, I don't think we could really ask for any more. I think we're trying to find our stride and who we are. After some injuries we've had, I think losing one of our bigger seniors that we have is something we're trying to build onto. So
you guys just got back from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at that Cruzin Classic, which sounds like a fun one. You won 2 games there. What was the experience like in Florida for a few days?
I mean, it's amazing. Anytime you can go somewhere that's hot in the winter, especially after being in the mountains all year so far. I mean, it's always nice to go down there, have fun with the team. Also, just winning those 2 games definitely helps the experience a lot more.
Yeah, you guys played well there. You come back with 2 wins, which is important. We'll talk about the ODAC in a second. As far as your season right now, and I want to talk about like your season, but also your career. First, I'm gonna give people your stats from this season, which are incredibly impressive. When you look at the across the board stat line, and stats don't tell the whole story, but 19.3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 4.4 assists per game, 2.8 steals per game. You're shooting 525 from the field. You're shooting 472 from three. Um, let's start there for a second, Josh. I mean, you're having a monster season right now, and I know that a lot of hard work in the off season goes into this kind of stuff, and I'm going to get into that. But you got to be pretty thrilled about the way like you're playing and the way you're helping your team win ball games here.
Yeah, it's always nice, especially as a senior, to be able to play as well as I'm playing right now. I mean, it always helps having teammates like I have right now who always push me in practices, push me in workouts, and great coaching staff as well. So that always works out well when you can play that well.
I'm going to give you my scouting report on Josh McClary. I've been watching your games in preparation for the QCast, so I'm going to give you my scouting report, and you tell me where I'm right and where I'm wrong. So first of all, Josh is primarily a point guard. They play him off the ball sometimes. On occasion, you'll go kind of play the two, but most of the time, I'd call you point guard. You're quick, you're athletic, you have elite handles. You have great handles with the basketball. You're a pure shooter. You're an elite on ball defender and off ball. You're an elite perimeter defender. You are harassing people all over the court on that perimeter. You make it tough on people that have the ball in their hands. Yeah, I mean you're averaging almost 3 steals a game. You're a jumper, so you've got hops, and we'll talk about D3 dunks in just a second. And finally, you're really unselfish. I think there's some times when you could take a shot where you find maybe someone that's a little more open. Do I have the scout for Josh McClary correct, Josh? Talk to what did I miss? What did I get wrong here?
No, I definitely think it's correct. I think it's funny, being labeled as a knockdown shooter, always being played as a driver, starting as a like playing as a freshman through about my sophomore, junior years too. I've always been played as a driver, so it's nice to finally get that recognition.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're shooting it great, man. You're shooting it great, and I do know that like driving it is option one. But let's talk about what you just said, because I think this is one of the coolest things about a story like yours is like you didn't just roll into college from your high school in Charlotte, North Carolina as a superstar. So you played a lot as a freshman. You played 11 minutes a game. Let me read your stat line as a freshman: 3 points, 1.8 rebounds, 1.3 assists, zero point 0.6 steals. You shot 47% and 26% from three. So that's your freshman year. You get on the floor, you get a little time, you get acclimated to college. Your sophomore season, you started some games. You started 8 games. You played in all of them. You started 8. So now you go 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. You shoot 49%, 36% from three. Last year, you start 9 games and you average 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. You shoot 42% and 38% from three. And I just read this year's stats. So what's really cool, Josh, I want to hear about the work that's gone into this, because you've gone from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. You've gotten better every single year to the point where you're like a first team all ODAC guy. You're in the all American conversation big time right now. For all the young hoopers out there, freshmen that are grinding, trying to get on the floor, tell them what it took you to get to this point in your career.
I mean, definitely that first year shooting from three it was not fun. Having to adjust to like moving the line back a little bit. But I was able to work out with a lot of my teammates. And we were just able to kind of just continue repping, getting up more shots, more just game-like shots. And I think that's really helped me realizing that when you work out, it's not just going at like a small, like short pace. Like you want to really build it like you're actually in the game. And I think that's helped me a lot. I have individual workouts a lot of the times with some of my coaches. They helped me kind of build up on that as well. And just also whenever I'm coming back home for the summer, my high school coach, great guy, he's always having a gym open for anybody that wants to come back. Any alumni that just wants to come and shoot, he's always down to leave it open no matter what time it is. He'll come to the gym, open it up for you. He'll let you have the whole gym to yourself if you need to. So that's really helped me as well.
There's I guess, Josh, a misconception by some that don't understand Division 3, that think like Division 3 is kind of like intramurals and you just kind of show up and play. Uh, talk to people about this. I'll make a statement and you react to it as there's no difference in the amount of time you have to put into being a great player in Division 3 versus Division 2 versus Division 1 versus NAI versus JUCO. If you want to be great at all those levels, it's the same amount of time. Talk about that a little bit in terms of just like all of the hours that go into the kind of season you're having right now.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I think the amount of work you have to put in is equivalent. Maybe you might put in even more work. I know we have players on our team that put in just the amount of work as I've seen people from my high school that went to play Division 1 put in.
Sure.
It's just all about the repetition and just kind of getting to know your game a little bit better. And I don't think just because you're a Division 1 level player doesn't mean you're going to necessarily work out as much as a Division 3 player. So.
And just building on that a little bit on D3, I like to ask the people that come on here, the student athletes, that is, about the experience. There's a lot of kids out there right now getting recruited at a lot of different levels. They have great options, whether those options are D3, D2, NAI, D1. Just so we get a say here in D3, what have you enjoyed about the NCAA Division 3 experience through 3+ years at Roanoke?
I mean, I may have it a little different than some other people that might play at the D3 level. I think playing at Roanoke College is possibly one of the better places you could play at D3. I mean, people have seen the Cregger Center, the facilities we have. I
Oh,
mean, it doesn't get any better than that, I
yeah.
believe. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I feel like some people from the outside could even say like those facilities are better than
Yeah,
some low Division 1 schools, maybe some Division 2 schools, you know.
right.
So being able to definitely have those definitely have helped a lot.
It is a beautiful facility. And I go back, first time I came to Salem was 1996 when my alma mater was playing in the Final Four, and the Cregger Center wasn't there yet, so they built onto kind of the building that was there at the time. And I mean, what they have created there is unbelievable. And so for those that haven't checked it out, what a huge advantage for the student athletes at Roanoke College. Um, I got to ask you about D3 dunks. So are you aware of the hashtag D3 dunks? Have you ever heard of this thing?
Yeah, I have.
So you were featured early in the season in D3 dunks, and that dunk I didn't see coming. Like I knew that I was watching a D3 dunk video, but I was like, okay, this 6'2" guy has the ball now. Who's he throwing it to that's going to have the D3 dunk? And you just went up, you basically jumped over a dude. Like where at what point in that play did you decide that you were going to try to dunk that thing?
I think it was when I realized how deep down in the circle the guy was. We were just in a 2-on-1, and I mean, it's been a running kind of dialogue with one of my assistant coaches. When are you going to dunk on somebody, or just go dunk the ball at some point? And saw him in the circle, and it was kind of just like, well, he's already down there. I really can't get a charge at this point, so might as well try something, have a little fun. We were up a good amount, I think, at the time, so it also just kind of helped our team build onto what we were playing like. So I think that's when it was.
One of the dunks of the year in Division 3. I just think because again, because the size differential, the fact you jumped over him, the fact it was totally unexpected. So I had to ask. That's a creation of the D3 Datacast, and they like to celebrate the best D3 dunks, which is always a lot of fun. Your team, you guys have a really talented team. I mentioned I've been watching the Maroons play, just trying to be credible for this conversation. And what I found is that you guys have a really good group. So obviously we've talked about how great a season you're having. Jackson Bell, Marcus Morgan, Patrick Clevenger, Clayton Gaither, Gavin O'Malley. There's some other guys. Just talk about how nice it is to play in such a deep team with so many weapons and so much depth. And it really is kind of a special group you guys have.
Yeah, so last year we actually we had four double-digit average scorers. So we brought back no, we had five, I'm sorry, and we brought back four of those guys. This year, sadly, Zachary Rosenthal was not able to play for us this year in his senior year, which would have been really nice to have him back. But again, people like Jackson Bell, who didn't sniff the court really last year at all, didn't play many meaningful minutes for us. I think is our second leading scorer, maybe, or our third leading scorer right
Yeah.
now. So just having that kind of just around me as a player really helps a lot. Knowing that I have the confidence in everybody in our team to just go score, play the way they should play their role correctly, and then having the guys to actually go out there and do that really makes it easy.
You guys play in a really, really great conference, right? Like depending on the year, we like a couple years ago, I think we would say the ODAC was the best in the country. There's the UAA, there's some other leagues. You play in a really nasty league, right? And so like this year, the top of the standings, Hampton Sydney's 3-0, Virginia Wesleyan's 3-0, Ferrum's 2-1, Guilford's 2-1, you're 2-1, Randolph Macon's 2-1. That group of what's that, six? That group of six, any of the six can win the league, right? And so and there's good teams below there that I didn't list. I
Right.
just listed the top six. What's it like night in and night out to play in the ODAC?
Playing in ODAC, I don't think in any conference there's a team that goes in there thinking they have a game off. It might be like an easier game. Definitely
Right.
going to ODAC, we go into every game. I mean, you can lose every game you play in the ODAC. If a team came out play, they don't have to play their best. I think every team's good enough just to win as much as the next team. Obviously, some teams might have a better chance of doing that, but I don't believe you can go into an ODAC game just thinking, oh, we can make it out of this one. And I think that's something our team has really taken value to, especially the past 4 years I've been here just to understand like we can't really have any nights off. Playing in ODAC is special, but it also can be very hurtful if you just drop a game or two because everybody's kind of equal in a way.
I've had Adam Brazel on here two times, one last year, one this year. I'm just wondering what the matchups are like when you guys face Hampton Sydney and you have that matchup with Brazel.
No, I mean that's always fun. He's from Charlotte. I'm from Charlotte, so I knew him a little bit growing up and going through high school. And when we play each other, it's just two Charlotte guys just trying to have fun out there, just playing basketball. We're always talking to each other during the game, just kind of conversating like that. I mean, he's a great player. He's having a great year this year too, as well. And I just believe that whenever we go out there, I think, especially our last game that we had with each other just kind of shows like the competitive spirit that we have. But we're great guys off the court. We just talk to each other all the time. I mean, can't really get any better than that. So
It really is a great league. And I was over the break here. I was watching Randolph Macon beat Stevens Point in a really grind out, low scoring game. Stevens Point was undefeated before that, and they had beaten then number one Trine. So we know that they were a good team. Um, Hampton Sydney obviously just dropped a home game, non conference to John Carroll. Hampton Sydney also has some big time wins on their resume, including what they beat Randolph Macon and some other people. So really, everybody in the league, it seems like, already has an impressive win. Um, as far as your team during your career, Josh, you guys have been really good every year you've been there. Your freshman year, you guys were 18-9 and 9-7 in the league. Your sophomore year, you were 20-7, 12-4 in the ODAC. Last year, 16-10, 9-7, and this year so far 7-2, 2-1. It's such a great league that you guys are competing not only in your league but in that region for
right.
spots in the tournament, right? And um, what's the ceiling this year? Like, is this a year where you want to win the ODAC, you want to get in the tournament? As you guys talk about like your goals, like, can you share what some of those might be?
I mean, any year we want to win the ODAC championship. I don't think that's like something we just don't think we can do. But this year, especially, we believe we have the lineup and the guys to definitely go out there and win the ODAC championship, possibly make a run in the NCAA tournament. I mean, we won't know for certain when that will happen or exactly how much time we have until that happens, but we do believe that we can do that. But we're also just taking it one game at a time, just trying to keep continually building ourselves up, trying to get to the point where we believe where we can be at.
How many remind me for the ODAC conference tournament? How many teams get sent to the Salem Civic Center? Is it the final four, or remind me how that works?
So this year is the first year since I've been there where they've made it now. It's going to be only the Final Four is going to go to the Civic Center. But my 3 years prior has always been top eight seeds go.
Okay, yeah,
So you
yeah,
just play it out in 3 to 4 days, just depending on who has the off day between the boys and the girls.
right.
Um, Other than that, but yeah, this year will be the first round will be at the higher seeds home court, and then Final Four will go to the Civic Center.
And it's kind of cool that there's a neutral court. I mean, usually in conference tournaments across the country, you're playing on like the number one seed or whoever the high seed remaining's home floor.
Okay.
So it's really cool, I think, that you guys have a neutral court building. Now, granted, it's 15 minutes away from where you guys are, right? So maybe you have an advantage. But do you like the fact that you're playing in a neutral facility in that environment?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even feel like we have the home advantage. Hampton Sydney, Randolph Macon, their
Yeah,
fans, they'll travel. I mean, they'll pack it out just as much as we try to pack it out. But having that like neutral court, I think it really kind of gives us like the whole experience of competing. And it doesn't feel, I want to say D3, but like you go to this neutral spot and you're able to just compete against each
yeah.
other and maybe not have the influences of another team's home court or something like that,
And
which is
those games are always great. I always associate that final weekend of the year where I'm trying to follow games and figure out like whose bubble's going to burst and who's getting in. And it seems like those ODAC games at the Salem Civic Center are like always have some kind of drama or excitement. So as a hooper, that's got to be really fun to just get yourself there and like lace them up and compete, right, Josh? That's got to be a cool environment.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's a great facility. It kind of feels like you're in like one of those bigger, like I want to say NBA arenas, but you're in like arena because everybody's kind of looking down at you
Yeah,
rather than being in like stands like some schools have. So that's like the biggest difference for me. Definitely feels like you're just being watched, obviously, and
yeah,
teams come in, they'll watch it from the sidelines that play next and things like that. So
yeah. Cool place. Again, miss going there, and Maybe someday the men's basketball Final Four will find its way back there. Who knows? I sure wouldn't mind that. All right, so I assume that you're home now. Are you home in Charlotte as we speak?
Yes.
What's the little break like here? It's not a long break because you got some hoops to play in a few days, but um, what are you doing with family? What are the holiday plans? Just talk a little bit about that. What's going on the next couple days there?
Yeah, so really just kind of being home, just hanging out mainly with like my sister and my parents, and we kind of just keep things at home. They don't really want me to travel as much during these little breaks because they know as much as I already travel for basketball and as much as I have to do, they kind of let me take these rest days, which is really nice. So sometimes I'll just sit around, just kind of kick it back a little bit, just hang out. We don't really do much as a family anymore, mainly because of the whole schedule that I have now. So that's really nice. But just being home, even for the 3 days that it will be this time, it's really nice just to see family, especially. I think that's what's more for than anything.
And then as far as what's coming up, the Cregger Invitational, you've got that's the you guys host that obviously. And so on December 29th, that's your next game. You play Bryn Athen. And I've had their head coach on this show earlier in the season, and they've got some really talented players. They're a very talented team. The other game in that tournament is Susquehanna versus Maryville of Tennessee. So you have four really good teams in this thing. On the next night on the 30th, there's a consolation game and a championship. So it's a true tournament. Is that kind of cool? Playing some of these four teamers are like classics where the matchups are set. Is it kind of cool to play it tournament style, because that is how like the ODAC Final Four will go? That's how the NCAA tournament goes, right? Is like win in advance. Do you like that it's set up like that?
Yeah, I mean, we have two opportunities. So the way we look at it is every year we're gonna have two opportunities minimum to win a championship, being both tournaments that we host. So we really look at those times to like really see how we are in like a championship environment. And I believe that when we get into those games, like when we get into those tournaments, we really believe if we can compete in these championships, then why not go do it in an ODAC championship? Why not go try to do it in an NCAA tournament? So it is a really unique experience, especially since you don't see a lot of like tournaments being held as much anymore, as they used to, maybe.
Right. Yeah, that's it seems like a good way to do it this time of year. You're starting to think about late February, start to think about March. How important is it to you to get a chance to play in the NCAA tournament this year? Like, how big a deal is that to you?
I mean, I haven't been there yet. We've had great opportunities to go in
Yep.
our past 3 years, and I believe like with any team we have, we do have the opportunity to possibly compete in the NCAA tournament. It's just always about trying to get there. And being a senior, I really do want to try to give us a chance to get there, and I think we have the team to do it, and not just have the team just to get there, but also the team to compete as well. So it is exciting to see the
Yeah.
opportunities. But again, we're just trying to keep gradually growing, and just when we get there, we'll get there. I think that's kind of like our team motto right now.
And I would think whatever teams plural get in from the ODAC, they're so battle tested that
Yeah.
it's almost like wherever they were to send you or whoever you'd match up with, I think you'd have a great chance of competing and advancing because of how many great teams you will have played up to that point. Just two more questions for you, and then we'll kind of wrap up and see what final thoughts you have, Josh. Coach Nunley, Clay Nunley's, this is his ninth season. Obviously, one of the most respected coaches in Division Three. What's it like playing for Coach Nunley and his staff?
I mean, playing for Coach Nunley is it's great. I mean, he reminds me a lot of my high school coach. Hard nosed, wants to get after it, wants to win, just does things, wants things to be done the right way. And I don't think anybody takes that as like something that's negative. I think everybody takes that as in a positive way. He wants what's best for you, both on and off the court. I mean, him recruiting me definitely stood out to me. I mean, he came to almost every AAU game I had, even during the COVID times,
Wow.
which was something really nice. And I mean, just having a coach that committed to you and your team.
Yeah.
I mean, it really shows that you're willing to go all in for him. And I don't think he expects any less of us. He expects the best from us, and we also expect the best from him. And just our staff in general. I mean, my assistant coach last year was my senior point guard my freshman year. So, I mean, I'm able to have coaches closer to my age. I mean, that's pretty cool. But it's also, people might think they might be a little childish or something like that. It's never like that. It's always been business with us, and we've always been kind of prepared to just tackle anything with our coaching staff. And I believe we have great coaches that help us as well.
Yeah, very well respected coaching staff, and one of the reasons that you guys consistently are in the mix in the ODAC, always in that top group. And then you mentioned kind of recruiting and Coach Nunley recruiting, and that was the last thing I wanted to ask you about is talk us through like how your recruiting process went. Like some kids were superstars and had a million schools on them. Some kids were kind of a little more under the radar. Like what were you like as a high school senior hooper, and what was recruiting like for you back 4 or 5 years ago?
So a lot of people on my team, and obviously all my coaches know this, but Roanoke College was quite literally one of two schools that truly, I would say, recruited me.
Wow.
Um, I didn't play out in the high school I went to. We were just a public school powerhouse down here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my junior year didn't touch the court in high school. Senior year barely even touched the court. But I had a good enough AAU season to the point where coach recruited me really well. He also knew my high school coach, which helped a lot more. So my high school coach was able to tell him, even though I'm not playing, I'm still a good enough player. And coach not only believed in me. And with that, I mean, it was easy just to make that commitment to him to go to his school and play underneath him. I mean, it doesn't get any easier when you have a coach who's willing to travel um the 2.5 hours just to come watch like us
Yeah.
practice. I have a story with him where he we run midnight conditioning before every season starts, and he came to one of our like open gyms where we were kind of just practicing with the team in high school, and he had to leave early. He pulled me aside. He's like, "Yeah, I gotta go make it to our midnight conditioning tonight." And I'm like, "Well, if a coach can come out there and do that for me, I mean, shows how much he really wants you." And I was easily able to just make that commitment to him. So
And a great lesson, Josh, right, is like in recruiting, there's a lot of factors, but one of the big ones has to be like go where you're wanted. Like if you got to go somewhere where you feel like they want you to be a big part of the team. And it sounds like Coach Nunley and staff made you really clear that you were a big part of what they were going to do for 4 years.
yeah, and having that opportunity really showed me I could possibly compete at the next level. Obviously, competing now, which really helped boost a lot of confidence as well. So.
Well, one more quick question is what's your degree going to be in? Do you have a sense of what you'd like to do after Roanoke College? Any like firm plans or ideas of what that might be?
So I'm double major in business administration and marketing. Next year, I'll more than likely be going back to do my MBA at Roanoke
That's
College, so
great.
possibly become like a grad assistant with Coach Nunley and the other staff as well. So other than that part, nothing really planned out after that, but definitely just gonna go get my master's in business administration for sure. That's the next plan.
That's great. Look, I can tell from talking to you for 30 minutes or whatever that you're going to have plenty of options, Josh. That's for sure. Well, I really appreciate you making this work. This kind of came about fairly randomly as someone I respect on Twitter said, "Hey, Bob, you might want to talk to this guy. He's having a huge season." And I started clicking around and I said, "I would like to talk to him." And I think your mom even got involved. Didn't you? I think your mom was like,
She did.
I think she was like, "Yeah, you know what? This guy's worked hard. This would be a good guy." Yeah. So shout out to mom
Yeah,
because I was
Tom
like, "Yeah,
Clevenger.
let's go."
Yeah, that was probably the most random thing I've ever seen. I mean, I literally opened my phone and my teammate Patrick Clevenger texts me is like, "Yo, my dad just put this out on Twitter," and I'm like, "Oh God, what could it be?" So I go on Twitter. Todd Clevenger's kind of putting me out there, and then I see my mom's putting me out there, and I'm like, "Oh, this could be something interesting." And me and led me to be on the QCast, which is always a great opportunity. And that's just a kudos to them for what they do for us. I mean, Todd Clevenger, he's and Jay Rosenthal, they're two parents that we have who are
Absolutely.
they're out there on D3 on Twitter. I mean, you've probably seen them a lot of times.
Yes.
I mean, they're pretty active in what D3 is, and I mean, that's just the media we get, and we appreciate them for that. And then my mom, that was kind of just out of the blue. So I mean, she knows I don't really like attention like that, so she heard from me about that. But other than that, I mean,
I think she even said like, "I think this is going to really embarrass him." But that's what moms do, right, Josh? That's moms. That's their role. They kind of, in showing love, sometimes they embarrass. And she didn't mean to embarrass you, but I think she knew that she might. So shout out to mom. I really appreciated her reaching out, and I'm glad that the guys did. And those two gentlemen you mentioned are great advocates for Roanoke and the Maroons and D3 hoops. So shout out to those guys. I'll just say it's been a pleasure, Josh, and you're having like an incredible season. Most importantly, you this wasn't handed to you. Like you've had to work for this. I read your stats and how much better you got freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And I know how much work had to have gone into that. And I think you're very humble and you've even downplayed how hard it's been to get yourself here. So kudos to you. Your team's fantastic. I don't see why you can't be in the mix in the ODAC and be in that thing all the way to the end. I like to give you guys the final word. A shout out to my guy Dave McHugh, who on Hoopsville always gave the guests and always gives the guests the final word. So, Josh, you're going to have some Maroons fans tuning in, D3 fans. I'm sure people from Charlotte are tuning in. What would you leave everyone with today on the QCast, Josh McClary?
Well, first, I just want to thank you. Obviously, I've seen a lot of your tweets through the years I've been playing D3 basketball, and just what you do for D3 athletes. We really do appreciate it. I mean, it's not much media on us, so we really do appreciate everything you
Glad
did.
to.
But really, I mean, story's kind of simple. I think I go to a great school. I think we were playing really well, and I'm just glad that we're kind of getting on the spotlight that I think we've deserved for the past 4 years to be able to just have somebody out there to kind of advocate for us and to really just talk about how great of a team we think we are. And to Roanoke Maroons, obviously, we're trying to always bring back an ODAC championship, and this year is no other. I think we have a great team. I think we can do it this year, and just thank you to everybody, really, that's helped me get to where I've been, and especially thankful for my teammates. Can't ask for a better group of guys to just go to war with, man.
Very well said. And for those that want to check out Roanoke, which you should, they're a very talented team, very deep team, very balanced, unselfish group. They will be next playing the 29th against Bryn Athen. I mentioned that that's a very talented team, and you can also check out a little of them on the QCast earlier this season. Really good one that you'll like. And that was Joshua slash Josh. He told me to call him Josh. So if mom's upset, if mom's like, why did that guy not call you Joshua? This is on you. So
I think
that
my
was
mom is
Josh.
happy.
That was
But
Josh McClary, who is a 6'2 senior guard, averaging 19 points and all kinds of other stats, having a wonderful season for the Roanoke College Maroons. Josh, you keep hooping and also keep dunking. Like, because I want to look for you on D3 dunks before this season's over. Is that fair?
I don't know if I have the legs for it anymore. I think I got lucky last year, so we'll see. They don't really jump as high as they used to.
Well, and probably Coach Nunley would want me to just say, like, just go in there and lay it in, just score it, or
Get the
or even
two
pass it to the guy over here if you need to. Like, we don't always need to be jumping over a dude. So, Josh, you're a first class dude. You're a great example of what D3 is all about. You have a great rest of your season, and if you get yourself down the road a little bit, and the Maroons have some big time things going on in February, let's have this conversation again. Okay.
sounds like sounds like a plan.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.